I'm in 2026 news tonight. You know, last night I talked with Kentucky Congressman Thomas Massie. Now, for the first time, we're hearing directly from his opponent, who's been endorsed by President Trump.
Ed Gallrein is trying to unseat Massie for the 4th District. It's a race the nation is watching very closely, and so is Cincinnati, because we see their ads almost every other minute on our broadcast. WLWT News 5's Todd Dykes joining us with what Gallrein is saying in this heated political showdown. Down the home stretch we come.
Well, I live in northern Kentucky, guys, so it feels even closer to home for me, without question. Voters and pundits alike call the race between Ed Gallrein and Thomas Massie a real slugfest, featuring campaign ads that seem to push just about every button imaginable. I asked Gallrein about that and about President Trump's impact on the world stage. Ed Gallrein shook lots of hands today during a visit to Mazak in Boone County, a company that makes some of the world's most advanced machine tools.
It's exactly the kind of company that President Trump has been fighting for with the Republican Party. American manufacturing, American workers, American success.
Gallrein, who's running to represent Kentucky's 4th Congressional District, spoke after receiving an endorsement from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce.
I'm running because I believe Kentucky should lead the nation in manufacturing, agriculture, energy production, and job creation.
Gallrein is a farmer from the Louisville area and a military veteran, having served as a member of SEAL Team 6. He has President Trump's endorsement in his bid to oust longtime incumbent Thomas Massie. I asked Gallrein how he defines himself politically, whether he's MAGA, America First, a libertarian, or a conservative Republican.
I am a conservative Republican, full stop. Don't know what all those other terms mean, but that's what I reflect, and that's how I'll vote.
After saying he won't simply be a rubber stamp for President Trump, I asked Gallrein about his race against Massie, who's often on the receiving end of blistering criticism from the White House. Several ads on behalf of both campaigns have been downright nasty.
What do you say? People are like, wow, this race is off the chains.
It's regrettable that his desperation is only exceeded by his dishonesty.
Massie has supported a proposed constitutional amendment that would limit how many terms members of Congress can serve. Gallrein says that fact makes it hard to understand why Massie is seeking an 8th stint as a member of the U.S. House of Representatives.
He is part of the problem. He's a career politician. Those ads, they represent the sentiment of what some folks would say being really mean to me, very untruthful. And it's regrettable that's where this race is.
During his speech, Gallrein noted how the Kentucky business community and farmers are being squeezed by the rising cost of fuel and fertilizer. That prompted me to ask how he feels about the war in Iran, which has caused prices to soar.
The president is playing 5-dimensional chess. He is resetting the entire global power structure. So let him work through that, to reset that, to set the conditions for just like President Reagan did. Exactly like President Reagan did. Long-term peace and prosperity based on the centerpiece of our national power, the economy. And we will see the benefits of that.
Now, Ed Gallrein was raised on a dairy farm in Louisville. He told me today that he grew up looking at the Ohio River and milk and cows, adding he's a proud member of St. Paul's Catholic Church on Louisville's South Side. Todd Dykes, WLWT News 5.